Keep Nintendo Weird, everybody. It's your boy, Seth. Happy and thrilled, as always, to be here with you today on a, well, at the time of this recording anyway, recording this intro, on a lazy Sunday day off for me. And man, like, I'm feeling energized. I just made myself a nice, like, French pressed coffee and a great, like, breakfast sandwich. Man, do you guys have any, like, day off rituals? Like, just things that you like to do on your day off to, like, set the tone for your day off. That's what I like to do. My days off are important to me, man. I don't get many of those. So when I have a day off, I just love to, like I said, make myself a nice coffee, or if my wife's off too, if we happen to share a day off, just make like a nice breakfast for us or something. You really can't beat a great breakfast sandwich, man. Just like a nice toasted bun, some sriracha mayo, a good marbled egg, some onions if you got them, on with like a nice like American cheese on it. Like, I love it so much. Nothing finer than a great breakfast sandwich. Anyway, that's a tangent. Let me know if you guys have any breakfast rituals or any day off rituals. I would love to hear about that, because maybe I'm the only person who does junk like that. Anyway, something that's not junk, something that is awesome, is this episode of Keep Nintendo Weird that you are about to watch and or listen to right here, right now, all about No More Heroes, a series that is very near and dear to my heart. And the day that you're listening or watching to this, if you're doing it the day it goes live, is No More Heroes 3 release day. Yay! We finally got it. We actually got a No More Heroes 3. It's a thing that is real, that exists, that you can go out and buy right here, right now. And to talk about the series with me, to just gush about the series with me, is the great Jonathan Holmes, which I cannot believe I'm even saying that. You'll have to forgive me when the episode starts, you'll see. I go into a little bit of fanboy mode, because I've been a fan of Jonathan Holmes for 11, 12 years at this point. I tried to like do like a little bit of digging to like figure out what the first Holmes video I saw was, and it was a long time ago in any case. And Jonathan Holmes, now you know him from Nintendo Force or the like 10 million podcasts that he does. Busy guy, one of the OGs, as I say a few times in the episode, but just a great, generous, fun person. Like, so cool to connect with him and get to talk with him, and just a great time. By the way, I want to shout something out here. I take a drink of my coffee and then I'll shout this out. So this has never happened to me. I've been podcasting for a little over a decade now. In all the podcasts I've ever done, right? And I live in Louisiana. Louisiana is a place very notorious for its inclement weather, especially this time of the year, because we're in like hurricane season. Blessedly, knock on something. Hopefully that doesn't sound too bad on the mic. We have not had any bad hurricanes like we had last year. But anyway, not yet anyway. But in the middle of recording, first time this has ever happened, I'm talking with Jonathan Holmes. We're talking about No More Heroes. We're having a great old time. My power went out, and I was mortified. Now, luckily, because Holmes is awesome, he was actually recording the Zoom call. So I will give full disclosure. This is the video you're about to watch. Now, if you're listening to audio, hopefully you won't be able to tell anything changed at all. But because I was able to salvage the local audio recording, that was all great. But thankfully, Holmes was recording the Zoom call. It is going to look different than normal Keep Nintendo Weird episodes. I normally like to have like kind of a layout with OBS and stuff like that. But the nature of the Zoom call, I mean, it's going to look and sound like a Zoom call on the video version. And there's just nothing I can do about that. But I'm still so appreciative, because like if it weren't for Holmes recording that, I would have had to just use gameplay or something again, and I didn't want to have to do that, especially since Holmes was nice enough to appear on video. So just all the thanks. Just praise be to Holmes. Everybody join me. Praise be to Jonathan Holmes for recording that video. Oh, my goodness. Saved my life for this episode of Keep Nintendo Weird, and which is just so kind in general. I'm not going to ramble on much more, but guys, again, we're going to talk No More Heroes. We're going to get into it. Holmes even goes a little bit into No More Heroes 3. So hopefully this is a really good primer for you to watch and or listen to before you run out and pick up your copy of No More Heroes 3, which I highly recommend you do. We want to see more of this series. We want to see as many Suda51 games as we can, and Holmes does... The reason we delayed the episode a little bit is so that Holmes could kind of talk about No More Heroes 3 a little bit. So we talk about the series at large. I kind of pick Holmes's brain about the man behind the games, and we talk about Suda51 himself quite a bit, because Holmes has had the pleasure of speaking to him on numerous occasions. And yeah, and Holmes, again, talks a little bit about No More Heroes 3. So you're in for a treat, you guys. I'm not going to delay any further. Let's go ahead and get the episode started. Let's go ahead and talk No More Heroes. Let's talk Jonathan Holmes. And let's keep Nintendo weird. So I feel like, and I apologize for this, by the way, and I feel like you get this all the time, but I do feel like I have to, I just have to say, sup, Holmes.
I don't get that ever anymore. That is so nice to hear again. Yes, I was the host of a show called Sup, Holmes for a while, and the people who liked it loved it. It was great to get that kind of response from a small, focused and very charitable audience. They really put up with me. I just heard some guy in my neighborhood started watching it for the first time, which was nice to hear. Yeah, I was just walking around my neighborhood and he was like, "Oh, hey, I like your show because of the guests." It's like, "Oh, great, thanks." The guests were people I did not know almost every time. Video game developers, just about always. Yeah. And it was one of the only shows of its time that did that. Now there's a ton, and that's nice to see too.
Yeah, I mean, like now there's just so many possibilities to make content, you know, so many people can just go get out and do it. But I mean, you're an OG. You're an OG. I mean, it's really weird. And again, I apologize, but like it is a bit of a fanboy moment for me because I've been a fan of yours for like over a decade.
No. And really?
Honestly, like I was actually when I first linked up with you, I was like, when was I first introduced to Jonathan Holmes? And I was looking back at some old Destructoid videos, and I was like, you know, I think the first Holmes video I saw was the video of you and Lee Davis, and she was playing she's playing like a Wii game, and you're trying to interview her while she was playing a Wii game in like a hotel room, and I think Chad Conselmo was in the back, and you know, so I think that's the first video that I saw of yours.
Wow. What a weird time, right? We didn't have any budget. I don't think I was paid to do those videos. Maybe I was. I wasn't doing it with that in mind if I were. And there was no precedent for like what would be a hit video. There was no PewDiePie, or there was no Markiplier or Ninja, or Twitch didn't exist then. So it was simply, you did it because you liked it with no expectations of more than that happening, which really made the content different and made the people who are making the content different. Like
that's a great point.
She didn't want to be in a video at all.
You can tell she's definitely like I'm trying to concentrate. But no, it was great though. I mean, like your energy is always something that I've really looked up to, and it's been cool to connect with you and to like get to talk to folks like you who I've looked up to for many years. So this is a huge treat for me. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, likewise. And I was so happy to hear that somebody was doing a Keep Nintendo Weird podcast, because it's something I have trumpeted for a long time. And it's very hard to find at least for me anyway, over the years, it was oftentimes very hard to find the people who wanted to hear that message. Nintendo fans were either like, I want Zelda, Mario, or people are like, I hate all Nintendo stuff. And people that were in that space between, where it was more in the frame of mind that has now been adopted by indies. But again, I've been doing this for a while, as you said. When I first started covering Nintendo games, I think the first event I covered was the Super Smash Brothers Brawl pre-release tournament at a college here in Massachusetts called Worcester Polytechnical Institute. And I was excited to see Lucas in the game. I was like freaking out. And nobody knew what the heck I was talking about. And now Fangamer has translated the game, and it's got not Earthbound. Undertale came out. I mixed those two up for obvious
Yes.
reasons, which caused people to take a different look at Nintendo as they influence the indie games they like. It's been a lot of things have changed since I started talking about this kind of stuff, and to see you picking it up and running with it and really branding yourself around it and being consistent with it has been a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. It's really it's something that's important to me because I mean it's the idea of like, you know, the Marios and the Zeldas are all great. I love them as much as the next guy, right? But I mean, you know, where's the love for the WarioWares and the Rhythm Heavens? And, you know, of course, it's great that we're getting that stuff now. And we're getting a new WarioWare and stuff like that. And, you know, Rhythm Heaven hasn't made its way to Switch yet. Grr.
Mm.
But you know, it is nice to kind of see weird Nintendo coming a little bit more into the limelight. So whatever I can do to facilitate that, I'm happy to. But what are you up to these days? I know you do the Nintendo Force thing. That's really cool. And I actually, you know, looking at your Twitter, got to listen to your new podcast. I've been following that. That's been a ton of fun talking to women about video games.
Oh,
What sort
thanks.
of irons do you have in the fire right now?
Well, it's still right for Destructoid a few times a month. I can't ever stop. I've been there since 2008, I think, and I'll be
Holy moly!
writing a little guide about No More Heroes 3 and also a short, spoiler free, for the most part, recap of the themes of the prior three No More Heroes games, because a lot of people have asked me, can I just pick up the third one? I don't want to start with
Right.
three if there's a bunch that I'm going to be missing out on, but I'm not going to play three more games in the next week or so I can't really catch up. So it's a way to at least help people feel like they can start with No More Heroes 3, understanding the character of Travis Touchdown and where he's come from. So working on
Right.
that as we speak, and a little guide for it to help people find the secrets in No More Heroes 3. And yeah, Nintendo Force and some podcasts. I do one with Stephanie Sterling, Conrad Zimmerman, called Boston's Favorite Son. I don't know if you've heard of Stephanie and Conrad, but they
I
like to.
have. I remember Conrad at least from the Destructoid days. Yeah.
Yep. And Steph was there too. They just come up with humiliating, often painful, and criminal ideas for me, and couch them as a method to help me become famous again. Because 25 years ago, almost 25 years ago, I was on a reality show on MTV called Road Rules. So when you were
Are
like,
you kidding?
you're like 6 or 7, probably, maybe younger. Yeah. I was on Road Rules in season 5, 1999.
What?
Maybe it
How
was
did I not know
2000.
this?
Well, Road Rules, not exactly hot right now. Not a lot of people talking about it. People still
Everybody's
talk
talking
about
about road rules. 2021, you know.
people like the challenge still. There's diehard fans of the really competitive. It's almost like a sport in and of itself, like American Ninja Warrior now. When I was on that
Yeah.
show, it was just, we've got feelings and we're in a Winnebago and we're
Oh
gonna
my
drive to,
goodness.
oh wow, and this week we're gonna be throwing fish around at the Seattle Fish Market. That'll be cute. It was just it was almost like a PBS show when I was on it. It was a little bit of learning
Holy
and a
moly.
little bit of drama, but nobody really got hurt and nobody swore, and it was a cute show. I'm grateful to have gotten to be on it. So the premise of this other show I'm on with Stephanie Sterling and Conrad Zimmerman is they want to get me as famous as I was on Road Rules once again by covering me in honey and flowers and saying that I'm going to be the new flower baby that needs to christen the world with my
Oh man.
saliva or something. Yeah, they just come up with stuff. Willem Dafoe
Midsommar
movie
who
pitches.
move over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's as weird as a weird Nintendo game. The stuff that they come up with. Oh, and GameCube commercials too. We have a
Oh
ongoing
my goodness.
GameCube commercial pitch bit that we do maybe twice a year, not a lot. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm up to. Thanks for asking.
I love it. No, yeah, I love it. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah, just a longtime fan and love the stuff that you're doing today. But we have gathered here today, Holmes, to talk some No More Heroes.
Yes.
And oh man, I'm really excited for a few reasons. Mostly because like this series has been an interesting one, I think, just to follow its kind of trajectory, and the creator of the series, Suda51, somebody that I know you've had the pleasure of speaking to on numerous occasions. So I'm really kind of interested to pick your brain about the guy behind the games too.
Oh, sure.
um but I mean, yeah, like I guess to start off, where I usually start with these things is kind of, where were you first exposed to No More Heroes?
Oh, sure. So I was a big fan of the Nintendo Wii, was not interested in the PS3, the Xbox
Yeah,
360 that much. And it's not because I was always strictly about Nintendo. I actually didn't like the Nintendo 64 that much and was strictly a Sega Saturn and PS1 loyalist
Sega
during.
Saturn.
Oh,
Wow,
I love the Sega Saturn.
it's a
Yeah,
great system.
it
Yeah.
is absolutely. It's got like 5 great games and then a bunch of other stuff, maybe more than that. But yeah, I like bought Panzer Dragoon Saga the day it launched, and Burning Rangers, and a bunch of
Oh,
imported Capcom fighting games. That's what I was about. I wanted it weird, and Nintendo 64 for me was Nintendo getting a little bit more excited about technological innovations and a little bit
hmm.
less about creative innovations. Paper Mario was great. And Majora's was great. There's still
Oh
great
yeah.
N64 games that I loved, but with the Wii and the GameCube, and then even more the Wii, I felt like Nintendo is getting really daring again. And not only with motion controls, but with game design, with just trying to take chances, make every game something like they've never done before, and really wow us. And I was also getting on in years, so the older I've gotten, the more I want weird games. Actually, like a
Me
lot of people
too.
get more conventional when they get older. I've gotten less, I think. So No More Heroes came out in 2008, and I was going to buy it anyway. Anthony Birch was the review editor for Destructoid at that time. He wanted to review it, and I said, "Can I review it with you?" And we both played it for a review, and it was one of the first reviews I actually did for Destructoid, and it's
Wow.
terrible. When I read the review now, I'm like, first of all, do you have any analytical mind, 2008 Jonathan Holmes? I was just like, the graphics are pretty cool, but they could be better. I like the action and the jokes, but hey, why wasn't it longer? 8.5. Just like I've been
Right.
I've been lucky to get to write about the game at least 10 times since then. I actually wrote pretty detailed essays about No More Heroes 1 and 2 for the recent limited run physical release of both of those
Oh,
games.
how cool.
Yeah, I was
That's
I was
awesome.
really really surprised and happy that Jeremy Parrish, who is one of my heroes
I
in
love
the
him. I
industry.
love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's even older. Well, I think he's my age, but he's been doing it for longer. I think we're around the same
What a
age.
smart guy. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his too.
Yeah, so he is limited runs editorial chief
Right.
at this point. He puts out there, like, they have a Nintendo Fun Club style letter that he puts out with geez, I think he does one of those once a month. He's putting out some of his books through limited run. He did the
Hmm.
art design. He interviewed Suda for both of the art books for the limited run release, which you can no longer buy. It was really really weird to write something and think, well, a certain amount of people are going to pre-order this and just hope they like it, and then after those pre-orders are over, no one is ever going to see this again. It's like this weird it's almost like it became a artifact the
Yeah.
second it went to print, and now it's like a piece of history that people can dig up, but no one's going out and buying that anymore, hence the name limited run. So yeah, that was my first exposure to No More Heroes, and I was really taken aback by it and excited about it. But I thought I was supposed to be a good video game reviewer and point out the technical flaws, because that's what people want to
Sure.
know, right? Like a product review. And since then, I have done less and less of that, because not only are there thousands of people that will tell you that a game's frame rate isn't so good, so you're not delivering any new or hard to find information, but it's just boring for the reader and the writer to
Right.
approach games like that. So I have had a lot more fun with Suda 51 games in particular since I've let go of worrying so much about the technical part of analyzing a game's performance and all that stuff.
Yeah. Is that something that you've had the chance to talk to Suda about? Because he has a lot of those kind of Nintendo sensibilities. It seems like to me, playing
Mm,
his games. I've never had the pleasure of speaking with him, but um, yeah, he doesn't seem to be overly concerned with technology as much as like what is
mm,
fun and what is unique. And his design philosophy seems to be very focused on being, very singular and not fitting into any one mold. I look at like some of his something like Shadows of the Damned, which
hmm.
is ostensibly like a third person shooter, like one of my favorite third person shooters of all time. But it's got like so many unique, gameplay mechanics and characters, and
Oh,
he doesn't
sure.
seem overly concerned with the tech behind it all. Is that something you've had the
Mm.
chance to ask him about?
Not directly, but I've talked to him about his dual role because he's often the writer of his games, first and
Yes.
foremost. And then, not always, but sometimes he will direct them. He directed Travis Strikes Again, and it was all him directing that. He got some writing help or writing teamwork from the writers of The Silver Case and blanking on the sequel to it, Silver Case. Oh, and the 25th Ward. He
Right.
got them back, and those were the first Grasshopper manufactured games. So Travis Strikes Again was a real reunion for him and the formation of his company. So that's the writing side of him. The directing side really cares about delivering a fun, seamless, entertaining package. So the writer wants to push boundaries and take risks and maybe not make any conventional sense, but definitely give you something honest, authentic, even if it's rough and difficult to grasp sometimes. The director side of him seems like he really just wants to make things a great product, like a real
Right.
seamless product. But I don't think he's ever been given a real big budget shot at that. Like playing through No More Heroes 3, there's things that just would not have happened in this game if they had a lot of money to work with. They have incredible moments that look so good, and they've hired so many additional artists to jump in and do things you wouldn't expect to see, like a sudden two-dimensional artwork segment that's never explained. Travis just suddenly turns into like a bizarre mushy oil painting for maybe like 30 seconds. There's
Oh my
I think one of the
goodness.
artists from Hotline Miami, it looks like him. It looks like his art did a game within the game at No More Heroes 3. So they've got top talent, and there's a huge name movie director who's in the game kind of a lot all of a sudden.
Really? Wow.
and and yeah, so I'm gonna maybe I'll get to that later, but I'm veering into potential spoiler Terry. I gotta watch myself there. So yeah, but Suda has made games with James Gunn, who is now, he just did
Right.
Suicide Squad and stuff like that. So Suda is very well respected and well connected, but I don't think he ever gets a lot of money. Even Shadows of the Damned, which you mentioned, which was an EA game, you'd think that
Right.
they would be rolling in it. Everything I've learned about the development of that game it was fraught, and it was under budgeted and mismanaged, not by Suda and his team, to the point where Suda actually named one of the villains of the last two No More Heroes games, Travis Strikes Again and No More Heroes 3, after someone from EA. And I asked him about that. And I was
Oh
like,
my
so
goodness.
yeah, you went and did that, huh? He's like, oh yeah, it's just a funny sounding name. It's a cool sounding name. I was actually thinking of this
Mm-hmm.
other guy that I like even less than the the EA CEO that he named it. Damon Riccatello, I think is the name of the character in No More
Holy moly.
Heroes. Yeah, but he was actually naming it after, well, he based the character around this other guy, Seamus. I'm forgetting his last name. He was the guy who created the Xbox brand and then just left video games and did a bunch of other stuff. He seems like a real bully in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
I'm sure he could be a great guy, but from Suda's perspective, not. And Suda didn't say anything bad about him, but I read between the lines, and my take was
Sure.
that he saw this guy as someone who used artists for his own gain and didn't have any artistic sensibilities or soul themselves. And that's when you play No More Heroes 3, you'll see that this character Damon Riccatello, he doesn't seem like that bad of a guy until he's suddenly a very, very bad guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And that won't be a spoiler, I don't think, for people who've played Travis Strikes Again, because Travis Strikes
Right.
Again has a subplot where a character who made a game called Damned Dark Knight that just is Shadows of the Damned. Like, I don't know if you've played Travis Strikes Again, but it's
Yes.
got an unofficial sequel to Shadows of the Damned in it. And
Hmm.
Johnson is back and Garcia's back and stuff like that. But while you're playing that game, you also find out how that game was made. And the creator of that game, named Dr. Juvenile, was screwed over by Damon Riccatello. And Dr. Juvenile is just clearly a stand-in for some of Suda's own experiences in game development. It's a very autobiographical game, Travis Strikes
Yeah.
Again. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I don't guess that I ever like really saw it through that lens. Which is really cool. I mean, like Suda, there is something to be said about the um I guess authorship that is
Mm.
present in all of Suda's games. Like they're all very uniquely him. And I do wonder if Suda did suddenly get a big budget, if that would kind of, do you think he'd maybe like lose a little bit of that edge if he had like a lot of money to play with? If all of a sudden No More Heroes 4, maybe possibly one day, I know there's all this weird stuff. I guess Grasshopper doesn't even own the IP anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. But if they said, hey man, you now have like infinite money, I mean, like, do you think that kind of would challenge his approach to game design at all?
Yeah, great question. I know what he would say, which is, no, that wouldn't be a challenge. Give me the money. I'll take
But
the
it's
money.
impossible to know, I guess, right? Until you
I
get there.
Well, I mean, he's done Travis Strikes Again, for instance, was like 10 people on that team.
Yeah.
He was at Gung Ho. Gung Ho has tons of money, as far as I know. They're the Puzzle and Dragons, they're Ninjala, and
Right.
Let It Die, all of which, Let It Die, last I checked, had been downloaded 7 million times, 6 or 7, which is more than any Grasshopper game has sold. So,
Right.
and Puzzle Dragons, of course, tons of money. But they, for whatever reason, Suda ended up making one of his lowest budget for games for consoles, one of his lowest budget games for consoles yet, which was Travis Strikes Again. And he tried to treat it, in my opinion, like a big budget game. He was like, sure,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have to zoom the camera way out because we can't afford to make these characters look good close up. And
Right.
all the characters are going to be computer bugs, so they're like very, very simple geometric shapes for the most part, everything he's fighting. But then he's like, and it will also be a Killer 7 and Shadows of the Damned crossover. Epona from Zelda is in it for a little bit. Dracula, uh, the list goes on. So if he was to get a lot of money, I think he would just go all out with that kind of blazing, surreal, creative explosion that he did with Travis Strikes Again, but it would look as good as, you know, your Skyrims and your Breath of the Wilds and such. With No More Heroes 3, there's times when he was able to make the game look as good as those games, but there's other times when it's very clear that they either ran out of money or just decided to use their budget on something else, because there are 2 NPCs wandering around the open world of No More Heroes 3, only 2. And
Just period.
yeah, there's a man and a woman. They're wearing futuristic sailor suits with really tight black pants and overalls. Never explained. Why is it these are the only 2 people left on Earth? Is how it looks. And there is a cutscene that's already been revealed where a giant pink octopus from space kills everybody, or at least turns them into purple smoke. So maybe the sailor costumes are the only way to survive the laser from the
Hey,
squid?
makes
No one
sense to
knows.
me. Yeah, it makes sense to me, you know? It makes perfect sense, like you do, you know?
Yeah, it makes as much sense as a lot of the stuff in the game that you just need to roll with. It's a very much a, we're going to take you on a ride, either jump on or jump off sort of a game. It doesn't give you many things to comfortably hold on to, so you got to decide to hold on tight or not. And I can't stop playing it. I beat it and then put 6 more hours into just finding stuff in the open world map and buying the little there's a secret room you can find that's got vending machines, or gotcha machines, I should call them, like the
Yeah.
gumball machines, where you can get models, in-game models to put on your shelf, but also like the trophies in Smash for Wii U and 3DS. You can just look at them and rotate them and stuff like that. Of every No More Heroes boss, including the Travis Strikes Again bosses and the No More Heroes 3 bosses, all the basic enemies from No More Heroes 3, and like choice battles from No More Heroes 1, 2, and Travis Strikes Again. So I just can't stop wanting to buy those things. I have a bunch of amiibo too. If amiibos were in blind bags, I don't know how much money I would have, because I would be
Oh
taking a
my
risk on
goodness.
getting them all
Yeah.
day. So it's basically little blind bag amiibo in the game, and I can't get enough, because it's such a love letter to the whole series to do that, to say like, we think you
Yeah.
like Silverface. We think you like Silverface so much that you're going to go back to the gotcha machine and try to get him. And I did, and I got Silverface last night. I was so excited.
There's something interesting about that too, because like the game is told through the perspective of a fanboy or an otaku
Mm,
in Travis Touchdown. I
hmm.
mean, the even like right from the outset, I mean, the Travis Touchdown that's such a huge part of his character,
Yeah.
and these games, I mean, all of these games are just rife with like, I was talking about this on Twitter the other day. Like there's just this integral part of No More Heroes where there's all this side content and like little activities that you can do that do nothing to enhance, really, like to push the plot forward or to make gameplay sense or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's just there to add like flavor to the world and to give you something to kind of like stop and do. It might be something as simple as mowing the grass to make money,
Hmm.
but you do feel in that moment connected to that world just a little bit more. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great point. It's I don't like big open world games. I wanted to
Neither do
love.
I. Yeah.
That's interesting, because they're very, very popular. As you know, Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
being the best-selling Zelda game, I
I mean,
think.
I love Breath of the Wild, but yeah, so often like they're overwhelming to me,
Mm,
or like the things that you do in them are not interesting or don't add anything to the experience for me.
sure.
So,
But the
yeah, I
smaller
agree.
ones, like I love Skyward Sword, I love Chibi Robo, I
Oh,
love.
Chibi Robo.
I know it's a special game, right? And coming off of Chibi Robo, I think No More Heroes 1 was just like 3 or 4 years after that. So it
Yeah,
was
that's
pretty
true.
recent experience for me. It felt a little bit like that big, but not too big world of a little bit of light exploration, but no consequence. There's something so relaxing for me about just wandering around in Skyward Sword, being in the world, and having little interactions that don't matter a whole lot if they go great or not. It could, and it's the opposite of what a lot of people like about open world games. They want a big, epic experience where there's endless surprises and potential, and you've got to explore miles. I'm like, oh God, I'm 45. I don't, in real life, if I have to drive more than 45 minutes out of my regular routine, I'm exhausted a lot of the time, because
Right.
I already got a lot of responsibilities. So to give me a world where there's no real responsibilities, but a bunch of opportunities for small, relatively pointless, but delightful things like No More Heroes 3 is actually a lot like Animal Crossing, in that
Oh, cool.
if you decide to, you talk to an NPC, one of those futuristic sailors down by the Santa Destroy baseball stadium. They're just standing there. You may never notice them, but if you look on the map, there's icons for things you can do and talk, people you can talk to. So I was playing through the game for review and noticed, oh, a new person icon. I guess I'll drive over and see if they'll talk to me. And they're like, global warming's bad. Will you plant trees? And I'm like, yes, I will plant trees. And then after that, there's all these circular patches that I'd seen throughout the game already. I'd been playing for maybe 5 hours by that point. And I always thought, well, it looks like there's something you can do that. After the woman gives you seeds, you can plant 100 trees throughout the whole game. And if you plant all 100, something happens, I guess. I've planted 99 trees, and I have no idea where the last circle is. And when I have played through some other games because I've ignored some other games for the sake of No More Heroes 3. Pretty soon, the new WarioWare is coming out. I'm going to have to play through that.
Yes.
There's other stuff in my backlog. I'm very excited about the new WarioWare. Very relieved. I don't know if you knew this, that I had broken, I don't want to say a story, but I corroborated some opinions from people that I thought were valuable sources, saying that Mother 3 would never get localized. And I think I broke this story, maybe I broke these opinions. I shouldn't call it a story.
Right.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, and still no Mother 3, and also that Rhythm Heaven had essentially come to an end because the producer had retired. The music producer, Snoko, I think is how you pronounce his name, that he was no longer in the video game thing. Iwata was a big
Mm,
proponent of Rhythm Heaven. Wouldn't have happened without him, and it never sold well in
right.
the United States, but he was like, let's make more anyway. Without him there, because he would take a lot of creative risks, even if
Yes.
the business folks were like, I don't know, there's no trends that show that this is going to make us money. Iwata would often say, well, we make the trends, actually. So I think this is going to be a splash. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but he was there to always work for that reason, to be about more than just making money, but also to take risks and do something that you would be remembered by. And I'm still talking about him now. I don't talk about many other
Yeah.
video game executives in that way. So anyway, yeah, I'm not sure if we'll ever see Rhythm Heaven again either, but WarioWare still seems to be going, which is a relief. I very attached to that series. Another series that probably wouldn't have happened without Iwata.
Yeah, I'm very attached to that series too. That's one of my, I mean, that first WarioWare, it's right there. That's my favorite Game Boy Advance game of all time.
Oh, that's fun.
Um, I love it. I love it so much, and I'm glad to see it coming back. But it's interesting too because No More Heroes is a series that I sort of wasn't expecting to see continue. I guess
Mm-hmm.
Suda kind of has this tact with a lot of his games where he sort of leaves it open, and it almost feels like he wants to like get permission almost to make another one. Like he's like, I'm gonna leave this open and hopefully I can make more. Like
Yep.
hopefully I can pick this up where I left it off. And I sort of get that vibe from a lot of his games. But yeah, I mean, like from release to release with No More Heroes, I was sort of surprised to see more. I felt like I was the only
Mm-hmm.
person playing these things every time they came out.
Sure, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
but
it's
but
been
I'm
interesting to try to get a beat on what it's been like for him. And actually, peer of mine, someone I don't know him personally, but we've done similar work and always been, I love his work. He's always been kind to me too. Matt McMuscles from the Two
yes,
Best Friends
yes,
plays. He's been hitting me up in Twitter DMs and being like, oh, so I'm working on this new No More Heroes video. Can you help me find this interview? Did you do this interview with him? Do you know what I'm talking about? So he's got a great new video coming out soon where that's tracking the same stuff, asking, did Suda plan to make more No More Heroes? Does he even
right.
own No More Heroes? And I don't think he does. I think it's Marvelous who put up the money for No More Heroes. It was originally pitched, it was a Grasshopper pitch video called Heroes. And he didn't know if he'd ever make it a game. The Grasshopper put up a certain amount of money to make a very short trailer that had an art style that actually looked more like Killer 7, looked a little bit more like No More Heroes 3 than
Mm,
No More Heroes 1 and 2 did. And he tried pitching that around, and Marvelous said, yeah, we'll give you the money to make the game, but we're going to own the majority of the rights. And Ubisoft ended up, or I'm sorry, Ubisoft. I was
it's
mispronouncing.
Ubisoft
It
now.
is
Yes,
ubiquitous
yes.
soft. Yeah, I always get that wrong. So they said, we'll publish it in the United States to lessen a little bit of that burden, but we'll take the money, of course. And Suda starting Grasshopper in, geez, was it the year 2000? It was something like that. It was a little after that, I think, but Grasshopper's only been around for about 20 years, maybe a little bit less if I remember correctly.
Right.
It was a massive hustle. He worked for Human Entertainment before that. He wrote his first game was directing and writing a wrestling game where the main character kills himself at the end, which is just bananas. And that
Wow.
that caused quite a ruckus. It never was released in the United States, but it was Fire Pro Wrestling Special, Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Special. I mix up all the Fire Pro titles, but that character who killed himself, Mario Smith, I believe his name was. He is hinted at in every single No More Heroes game since, in one way or another. In the first No More Heroes game, Suda put in these letters that Travis gets from a wrestler, and he gets a luchador mask with them, and they're signed from
Right.
someone with the same initials as Mario Smith, if I'm remembering this correctly. And in the new game, No More Heroes 3, Travis actually greatly looks up to another person, and that's not really been like him. Travis in the prior games had always been, I want to be number one. If you're better than me, then I'm going to try to take you down and prove that I'm better than you. He's like that in the first one a lot. In the second one, he's starting to soften a little bit, and he actually lets a few of his rivals live when he
Yes.
can. Travis Strikes Again, he's mostly fighting computer bugs, so whether he's going to kill people or not is less a part of it. And now that we've gotten No More Heroes 3, not only does he refrain from killing people quite a bit when he can, he actually looks up to this new wrestler named Notorious, who is the tag team partner of Mario Smith's son. So he has kept the legacy of his first game alive throughout his other games. Even though Mario Smith is owned by the Fire Pro Wrestling Company, he's found a way to kind of sneak them in. He's very, very savvy. He's a very creative guy, of course, and a great director. But I think maybe his greatest strength is doing meetings, making deals, getting people excited to try something that wouldn't normally make sense. He had to pitch Lollipop Chainsaw to the
Yeah.
WB at some point. And then he got
Right.
James Gunn to work on it. How did he pull that off? Shadows of the Dam, that was a hustle to make that happen at all. And now he's somehow got Marvelous to sign off on No More Heroes 3, even though No More Heroes 2 did not sell as well as the first one. Travis Strikes Again, as far as I know, is the least well-selling game in the series. I don't
Right.
have official numbers on that, but that's the sense that I got. Suda himself in a recent trailer for No More Heroes 2 was like, and no one played Travis Strikes Again. And the reviews were bad. And that's why, it'll be a cult classic. Buy it today, kids. Like, that's not exactly what he said, but it was along those lines. So he acknowledged that game didn't exactly take off. And yet he got the hustle together to make No More Heroes 3. And man, did he go all out. I know just as Travis Strikes Again set up the potential for No More Heroes 3, No More Heroes 3 sets up the potential for at least 3 new No More Heroes projects.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
a hint of a movie in there. There's a hint of maybe a Smash Brothers something in there. And there's definitely a story set up for a next full No More Heroes game in there. Whether he'll get to make any of those things, I don't know, but I know he's hustling to try to make it happen for certain.
Yeah. He has, I mean, you want to root for him, like he's that kind of guy. You want to see those games do well. You want to see, you want to see people come to love it as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of why I wanted to kind of highlight the series, because No More Heroes 3 may be on the surface kind of like a big project. I mean, Nintendo has it as like their banner on Twitter right now, which
I
is
know
wild.
it is wild. Yeah. They're publishing it in the United States, the
Yeah.
physical copies, I think. So they have a vested business interest in that, but they only picked
Right.
up that interest because No More Heroes, for a lot of people, was the perfect blend of WarioWare style comedy, but in an action game. And you'll see that No More Heroes 3. For just as WarioWare changes genres on you left and right, suddenly it's a little RPG, especially with the 9-volt levels. I would say
Yeah.
No More Heroes 3 is like a 3D action game of 9-volt levels. Like, suddenly it turns into a first-person horror game. Suddenly it turns into a turn-based RPG. Then suddenly you're in space and it's like Star Fox. Like, it's constantly changing gears on you, and I love it. The that goes double for the jobs you now do. You still mow lawns. That's probably the most human relatable one. Now you also shoot alligators. You do like a
Ah,
chase HQ. I don't know if you played that arcade game. There's an old arcade game where you're a cop chasing after a crook, and you just smash into cars
sounds
to get to the
familiar.
crook in front of you. Yeah, you can. There's a few games in that series. He aped something from that, so you're doing really fun motorcycle stuff in the game too. He really tried to make it the highest quality and highest level of variety. Like every idea. I mean, it feels like a game made by a guy who may never get to make another No More Heroes game again. So he put in every idea he could because it was maybe his last shot. And that's a little sad. But at the same time, it made for a game that is really, really replayable. I have maybe 15 saves set up, so I can just jump to that weird part of the game again and relive it now and again. And I have recorded, as I was playing it, I recorded probably 150 clips because I'm just like, I want to watch that part again later. Like it's really that kind
Yeah,
of densely packed with little moments games that you'll want to relive, I think.
I love that. I love kind of just like I guess postulating the guy behind the game because he is such a massive component of No More Heroes. But
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you this, and I apologize for how broad this question is,
Oh,
but
I don't mind.
if you can if you would be able to nail this down to kind of like one, I guess, thing, what would you say is the thing that to you defines No More Heroes, makes No More Heroes special?
Mm-hmm. I would say it is the tension between opposites that the
Mm,
game, every game in the series presents you with in one form or another. Travis is a suave, cool, good looking guy with cool clothes and an unabashed nerd with terrible social
yes.
skills who just wants to, he treats his lightsaber like he is engaging in an act with it. I don't know how family friendly
Well,
this show is. It's
have you seen
relatively
some
family.
footage?
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's a
not.
fairly family friendly show. There's emotion involved, perhaps. You could
Yeah,
read between the lines there, and
it's not something you could do in public and have people say, well, that guy's cool. And Suda
right,
made the game knowing that a lot of people were playing the Wii and feeling like they looked stupid using motion
right.
control. So he's like, let's lean all the way into that.
Lean into
And
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and let you laugh at yourself and be like, I'm really doing the motion, guys. I'm doing it. And I look bad. And since I'm owning it, that actually makes me look good. The fact that I'm not trying to look cool and I'm owning the
right,
fact that I look ridiculous is what's cool about this. That tension between Travis is a total nerd and he is really stylish and someone that people might look up to on some level is really, really interesting. No More Heroes, the first one, is just a blazing, sort of shallow at times combat game until you get to the end and you fight, well, the second to last boss, if you get the real ending, you fight Jean. And I don't want to spoil it for people, but if you watch a video of Jean's second to last cutscene where she tells her story about why she's fighting and why, as you come to find out, why Travis was really fighting all the whole time. Travis had said, I just want to be number one. You find out there's actually a lot more to it. That cutscene is one of the most brutally honest stories of real trauma in a
yeah.
game where prior to that, I was, what are some of the side games in that? I was mowing lawns, I was pumping gas, I was doing all these ridiculous, silly things. I was fighting a guy named Dr. Peace and Destroy Man. It's all absurd and surreal until it's like, nope. And now it's just brutally sad and
And
honest.
the title starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And
And the title
yeah,
starts to make sense. Yeah. You get something very different than you thought you were signing up for with a lot of his games. Not all of them, but the ones he directs and writes, I would say all of them. Silver Case and the 25th Ward, you think, oh, this will be a visual novel about cops. And then you find out, I think the 25th Ward has 100 different endings. Like it's not,
holy moly.
yeah, you get a lot more, than you bargained for. But if you want to play his games, like simple, relatively shallow in terms of your analysis of what their symbolism is and what the story is, you can do that. You can just play No More Heroes 2 and flip the burgers. And I love all the side job games in that because they made them really fun NES games or NES style games. Yeah, I will just play those side games for hours and skip the rest of the story and the action because they're great games in and of themselves. You can play that way, or you can sit around and think about what it all means. I think the first thing I thought about this morning after I made my son breakfast and got my day started was like, what did it mean when this happened in No More Heroes 3? Is this Suda's most spiritual game? I think it
Wow.
is. I think this is his Eraserhead. In some ways, it's like his fun-loving, goofy Eraserhead because stuff happens in No More Heroes 3. Travis isn't who we thought he was. He may not even be a human being. I don't want to spoil it.
Wow.
He may not, because it's all about aliens, right? No More
Right.
Heroes 3. And how is it that this guy, Travis Touchdown, doesn't get murdered, even though people are like shooting him and cutting him? And how many times have you died in a No More Heroes game and it says, want to retry? What does that mean? Does that mean
Mm.
he, because in No More Heroes 2, I don't know if you recall this, you lose all your health, you're dead. But if you just start shaking the controller, he'll start to get up. Like it's very, very
Right.
hard to actually die in that game. They made it a little too easy in some ways, but that was fine with me at the point in life I was at. I didn't need more challenge. So if you
No,
shake it,
right.
it's just, oh, I'm coming back, and he gets back up. Is he even a person? Well, and then Travis Strikes Again. I think that game's old enough now. I can talk about how
Yeah.
he goes to a virtual world at the end. He goes to Mars. He's talking to this guy, John Winter, who is a game developer guru to Dr. Juvenile, who's the self-insert of Suda. And John Winter's like, want to just live here with me forever on Mars? And Suda's like, I think I should go back. He's like, well, and this all is for some reason presented like a game that looks like kind of like Sword and Sorcery. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah,
of that one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Sword and Sorcery style pixel art. And then John Minter's like, well, I guess I'll have to kill you. And he cuts his head off. And you just see Travis's head cut off floating for a long time. And you're like, so he's dead? And then he just is alive, I guess, in the real world again.
So
A,
interesting.
a lot of stuff like that. It doesn't happen for a while, but you'll be playing No More Heroes 3. And Suda actually released a piece of art about this. So I think I can talk about it. Suda released a piece of art drawn by Derek Robinson, Robertson or Rob. I'm not sure if I'm getting his last name right. Who I actually just corresponded with on Twitter and sent him an issue of Nintendo Force that his art is
Oh,
on the cover
nice.
for. Yeah, he was like, I drew that. I'm like, do you want a complimentary copy? We didn't pay you. It was just art that
Sure.
Grasshopper sent us. So we sent him a couple of copies. He was very grateful and very nice about it. But anyway,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And hopefully we can talk to him about doing a cover for Nintendo Force someday. But we'll get to that after I get all this other
Yeah.
stuff done. But yeah, long story short, Suda showed off some art showing Travis with his head just completely cut off. And then he said, does this happen in the game? And if it did, and Travis somehow came back after that, is Travis a human being? Or is he someone who can die, go to an afterlife, which seems to maybe also be a video game? Maybe it's a different kind of video game. I don't know if you've watched The Good Place, but I was getting real Good
Yeah.
Place vibes from No More Heroes. I don't know if Santa Destroy in the world that Travis is in is even like Earth at all. It might be an afterlife. They might all be dead. I have no idea what's going on because he's breaking the fourth wall all the time, right? He's like, I'm in a video
Right.
game. So maybe he knows that he's not real and that he exists in another kind of reality, a video game reality that's separate from ours. And then if he dies, maybe he goes into yet another video game, like going to a different level of hell. There's one level in No More Heroes 3 that's just called Hell. And you're like, why
Just
is this?
straight up.
Yeah, why is this called Hell? It's a high school. maybe high school was hell for
Well,
Suda. He was good at badminton in high school. He told me that in our last interview. So I think he liked high school a little bit. I have no idea. And I don't know if he knows. I do get the sense that he takes a page out of David Lynch's book. David Lynch, I don't know if
right.
you're familiar with him much, but he doesn't think too much about what he means. He meditates, allows ideas to come to him, believes that he is a vessel where ideas come from some other dimension. And then it's his job to do his very best to represent those ideas as they came to his mind. And he thinks he understands what they mean sometimes. He has intention sometimes, but sometimes he's like, yeah, this is the idea and I'm so passionate about it, but I have no idea why. And we're going to spend $1 million on it. We're going to make this. And he pulls it off and he's still making stuff. It's something that I think Suda also uses in terms of his creative process. His version of that was on the promotional tour for No More Heroes 2. I don't know if you remember this, because in No More Heroes, one of the signature things about it is Travis sits on the toilet to save.
Just save. Yeah.
Which is like a weird metaphor. It's gross, but it's also funny and relatable, which is sort of what Travis is about. And on the promotional tour for that suit, it was like, when I make games, it's like taking a big dump. All the stuff that goes into my brain, I chew it up and then it comes out my butt. And that's the game.
I do remember that.
It's a bunch of crap. I'm like, what's that, Suda? It's not crap. I love your games. And nope, I took a dump and I called it a video game. Like that's, and he thinks about it. He puts a lot of care into it, but what it means and why he means it in those limited runs interviews, limited run books that I wrote for, I like went off on a tangent and a half about how No More Heroes 1 is Travis in the midst of Erickson's psychosocial stage of intimacy versus isolation. No, that one was identity versus role confusion. No More Heroes 2 is intimacy versus isolation. He finally achieves intimacy, and then in Travis Strikes Again, it's about generativity versus stagnation, which means, am I productive person? Am I someone who's proud of what they do every day, or am I stagnating? Do I feel ashamed and worthless? And then Jeremy Parrish interviewed Suda about the games. Like, what do you think of people that are super analytical about them? It's like, I think they should just relax and have fun. Don't think about it too much. Just enjoy the game. And like,
that's fair, I guess.
I've spent a decade overanalyzing your games. Now you're telling me I should just relax.
And now you're saying fun. It's a dump that you just, it's a dump that you took. That's what these games are. I've been psychoanalyzing these and relating them to.
I've been psychoanalyzing those dumps, for a long time. Just looking at his poop and trying to figure out what's in there for a decade or more. Yeah. With the first one, 2008. It's 2021 now, so it's been 13 years.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, it's that's I think that would be my answer to that question. Like, because there's a lot of people who I think kind of reduce No More Heroes to like, I heard this phrase getting thrown around a lot, especially when the first game came out. Like, oh, it's like a playable Quentin Tarantino movie, or Suda's the Quentin Tarantino of video games or whatever, right? And that's fine, and that's great, and I think he would be happy to to have that comparison be made or whatever. But like, there is something beneath the surface, whether intentional or not. There is something underneath there, and the game does get kind of heavy, especially in that first game, like you were talking about. I was always puzzled by the Tarantino comparisons.
Right. Because
I think just the violence probably is where it mostly stems from.
There's cool. It's like a cool sociopath is what the first one's about. And that was Suda's deal for a little bit. But Takashi Miike or more surrealist David Lynch, weirder directors is where I would have gone than Tarantino. And likewise Suda, man, I've asked him, like, what do you think of violence in games? What do you think of violence in your games? He's like, I don't like violence. I think people should be kind. I make games that are super duper weird. Like that they're fighting with lightsabers. None of this is realistic. I don't want ever, whereas Tarantino violence can be very realistic. Suda has made games about people doing bad things, but they're more, and this is out of our interview. I asked him, do you think of them more like monsters than people? Because they're supernatural in a lot of ways. He said, yeah, that's about right. And then I looked into Takashi Miike's filmography, and Takashi Miike did a movie called Yakuza Apocalypse about Tarantino style gangster who also happens to be a vampire. And it was very From Dusk Till Dawn styled. And I think From Dusk Till Dawn is the only Tarantino movie that, or was that Robert Rodriguez?
I think
Regardless,
it was technically Rodriguez. Yeah.
was it?
But yeah.
But Tarantino
Yeah.
was in it and like co-wrote it or
Hmm.
something. So even then, yeah, there's no Tarantino movies that to me are all that much like any of Suda's games, because Suda is much more abstract and surreal and embeds a lot more symbolism that is dreamlike. I can't think of a dreamlike Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
That would be a crappy dream where it's just like me with a bunch of jerks with guns who
Right.
want money and to do crimes, or just being in World War II and getting shot. That's not my idea of a fun dream.
Yeah. Dreamlike's a good word, I think, for No More Heroes. That's a pretty good summation, I think. Yeah, I really love it. And what's great too, and we can point people to the series very, very easily now because the entire thing is now available on Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get No More Heroes 1 and 2 and Travis Strikes Again. And by the time you're listening to this, No More Heroes 3 is out.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I mean, yeah, it's really nice to have all of these games like readily available with like good ports. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love it. And we obviously, we've been sitting here talking about No More Heroes. We love it too.
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, so any sort of like closing final thoughts about the series?
Oh, sure. Well, the game is out now, so I can soft review it. I
Yes, yes.
I do think that people who were expecting a lot of detail and explanation around various characters who are introduced might be disappointed,
Mm,
because it is fast and furious. He said it is kind of like some of the Fast and Furious movies, actually, but Suda said it was going to be like Rocky 3. I don't know if you've seen
right.
Rocky 3. So Rocky 1, underdog story, very emotionally believable, very realistic. He doesn't win at the end, so it's not like a Hollywood ending where the good guy ends up getting good things happen to him. It's a little more realistic than that.
Yeah.
Rocky 2, a little bit more of a crowd pleaser because he wins at the end, but still carrying forward that sort of semi-realistic feel. Rocky 3, he's fighting Thunder Lips suddenly. He's got a robot. Like, it's like, what is going, just any idea they had, they went with. And I've read a little bit about Rocky 3 since, so I can compare it to No More Heroes 3. And it sounded like Stallone was like, I'm going to write and direct. I'm not that good at that, but I know people love Rocky. I love this character. People just want to spend time with this character and they want to see him do things he's never done before. So I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to have a whole story about Thunder Lips. Thunder Lips is going to show up and say, he says, I don't know if you remember Hulk Hogan's line in it, but it's like, that's the name of the game, or something like that. Just some like throwaway
That
one
sounds
liner.
right.
And then he's gone. You never, why was he in there? Why was there a robot in there? And he loses and wins in the same, and that became the Rocky thing for a while, where he has a big loss towards the beginning, and then
Right.
somehow over the course of one movie gets powerful enough to beat the guy who beat
Comes back. Yeah.
like 45 minutes earlier or something. So Suda wasn't kidding when he said No More Heroes 3 was going to be flavored like that. It is structured actually like a Netflix show. And I don't watch a lot of Netflix, so I didn't get this at first. I only get it after about halfway through the game. After you beat every boss, there's a anime end credits, and then a G for Grasshopper, but in the same font as the Netflix N appears. And it says,
Yes.
next chapter starts in 3, 2, 1 at the bottom. I was like, huh, that's weird. Then I remember that's exactly how Netflix is set up. So each chapter is like a wild, furious, kill a kill,
Yeah.
Gurren Lagann style anime that is got some symbolism in it, but it's also just energy for energy's sake and doesn't look back. A character will get introduced and you'll be like, oh wow, I can't wait to see where they're going with that plot. Like
Nope.
Midori Kawa. That's right. There was a lot of build up. A Silver Case character named Midori Kawa, who appeared in a Silver Case sequel comic called Red, Blue, and Green, I think it was. She got her own story. The fact that she was going to be in this game was a big deal, and it is really cool to see her. she's in the game for maybe 10 minutes. Like, don't, it's not going to turn into the Midori Kawa game. She comes back a few times. I don't want to spoil it. I think Suda is actually setting her and new type Kamui to be in their own games, because like we were saying earlier, he doesn't own No More Heroes. So
Right.
I'm sure he'd love to make another one because it'd like be a paying job and he'd get to do a lot of cool stuff. But he would really love to make a really big game himself that was as big as No More Heroes that he owned the IP to and would have creative control over. So he might own Midori Kawa. She would be awesome in a No More Heroes style game where she and new type Kamui starred on their own. So I think he put them in the game. Maybe like they don't serve a whole lot of narrative purpose. I think he just wanted to be like, look at these cool characters, No More Heroes fans. Get them in
Yeah.
my next game. I would not be surprised at all if that's the way he goes. That character, Notorious, he's just a big superhero wrestler that Travis looks up to, and they reenact a scene from Rocky 3 and like splash in the water together and hug.
I
And
love it.
then
Oh
he
my
like
goodness.
talks two more times after that. Like they're in and they're out. It's on to the next thing. There's a,
Breathless. Yeah.
exactly. There's a lot of moments that are deep that I'm sitting with. They get into Travis's childhood trauma a little bit all of a sudden. Like he would just finish doing, I think that was the Midori Kawa level, which was like fun and light and almost upbeat and happy after you finish that fight. And
Mm.
then you find out some terrible stuff happened to all of the touchdown kids, Henry, Travis, and Gene, when they were all children together. So then it's a deep backstory all of a sudden. And then, oh man, it's just, you gotta be ready to play the game on its own terms. If you go in with high expectations around getting a ton of lore out of it and a ton of detail in every character, you may be disappointed. So I guess more than a review, I wanted to give people a warning
Sure.
around that. That was my only disappointment with it. After I got over that and decided to take the game on its own terms and got really excited about the stuff they're teasing about, maybe a Smash style thing, or maybe it's teased for Travis to be in Smash. I can't really tell. A movie gets teased and a No More Heroes 4 of some kind that looks, the ideas they implanted in my head around that are incredible. Then I just wanted to keep playing the game to collect kittens and plant trees, and it's just a fun world to be in. Get those gotcha prizes. I've got about half of them. I want to try to get them all. I may start over a new game plus. I've already played for 26 hours. I may just start over and see what I can do in terms of the increased difficulty levels. It's really, I love Pokemon Snap too. I'm trying to decide. I loved Axiom Verge too. I don't know what my game of the year so far, now we're in August, is in there, but No More Heroes
Yeah.
3 is definitely a contender for it. My only hesitation about recommending it to people is if they're diehards, they may be a little disappointed around, it doesn't have as much to chew on story wise as Travis Strikes Again, for instance. But if you can go in with those tempered expectations and want to just have like a giant No More Heroes party where everyone's invited and it gets super weird, then I think you'll have a great time.
That is exactly what I want.
Oh, good.
That's
I'm
exactly what I
excited
want.
for you then.
Yeah, hey, you have made me somehow impossibly more excited to play it.
Oh, great.
So
Great. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I could go on and on. I'm trying to cut myself off. I love one last thing. Something people may not do. In between chapters, you can talk to NPCs and you get a
Mm,
little bit of extra dialogue between that. And they're in your motel room or in the same motel as you. I'm asking players to just give those conversations a chance because it's so nice to see Travis really caring about other people, but he's still such an impossible nerd. He can't, I don't want to spoil it, but there's people who are dying, who are grieving serious losses, and he comes up to them and is like, "So, have you seen this anime about?" It's just like he can't.
you
He
watch
can't.
Madoka Magica or
I
like,
think he says that. I think he says
oh,
that to someone
yes.
who's like in their motel room crying with grief, unable to talk. And then
Oh
someone
my
else who's
goodness.
dying, he's like, there was this amazing wrestling match with Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and he loves people now. That's the great thing about Travis's evolution, but he's still terrible with them. And I think that is just a very nice tension to set up. We asked before about what makes No More Heroes special. There's still that tension between him wanting to connect with people but being so bad at it, and he's so cool and yet such a loser at the same time. It's still got it. It's still got it.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to play. And thanks again for not only coming on and gushing about the series and No More Heroes 3 in particular, but I mean, like, it's been fascinating to listen to you and your unique kind of perspective on Suda and his take on design and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been awesome. If you would, yeah, if you would kind of point folks in your direction, how can they follow you and everything you're up to?
Yeah, I'm at Non-Trotsky on Twitter, and I'm on there more than I should be. This computer that we're doing the show on, thank goodness I can't log in on here, or else I would be much less productive. And I'm usually promoting what I'm working on there, various podcasts, talking to women about video games. You mentioned Boston's Favorite Son, starting work on the Metroid Dread issue of Nintendo Force now. We just finished the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue, where we got to interview the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman. That was nice. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. He gave us as much time as he could, and we packed it with questions, and he gave us amazing answers. So it was very nice. So that issue just wrapped. Now we're starting the Metroid Dread issue. I draw little comic strips in there. So I drew a little Samus and the non-specific action figure hanging out. Do you remember from the Wii U commercial for Zombie U from forever ago? So I do an ongoing comic strip about the non-specific action figure, because I relate with them. They were like famous for like a second, and they're bald and they don't know what they're doing anymore. So that's kind of me. So yeah, you can follow at Nintendo Force on Twitter as well. That issue comes out in September, so pretty soon. We're already playing the issue after that too, which I think is going to be Advance Wars themed. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And at Destructoid, a classic video game blog, still kicking. I'll be writing a bunch of No More Heroes stuff for them over the next week or so. So around when this show goes out, those stories will either be live or will about to be live.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, we guys will of course find links to all that stuff in the episode description. And again, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting. It's been awesome. And I mean, like I said, you're one of the OGs, somebody that I've been a fan of and looked up to for many, many years. So it's been an absolute treat to talk about a series that I love.
Oh, thank you.
So anyway, guys, that's been us. If you want to follow this show, you can do so at KNW Podcast. You can follow the main show at All N Podcast. You can find us on all of your social medias. You can find us on all of your podcast feeds. You can subscribe to us here on YouTube if you're watching the video version. But until next time, create what you want to create. And thank you for helping me keep Nintendo weird. Bye.